What are we going to call this? Alex and Mason talk about
Bollocks.
Seekers for a bit.
Yeah.
I want to start off by saying Ollie's not here because we were going to do a podcast, but Ollie left his equipment in London and is in. Where is he from? The swamp.
Yarmouth.
Yarmouth, that's it. I had ordered a takeaway for about an hour and a half ago and gave up on it because it didn't turn up an hour and a half ago. And I sat down to record with Mason, and literally what I was on for about a minute, the door knocked. So currently there is a takeaway just sort of stewing in my kitchen. But
You've had a little bit. But
I've had a little bit because I've sent way too much.
It is a Saturday night doing our second lockdown of the year. So
lockdown to
2.0.
Electric Avenue. We did not watch this series before Halloween. I wasn't really aware of it until this last week. Do you want to give us a setup of what the show is?
Yeah, so Truth Seekers is a new Amazon Prime Video supernatural comedy from Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They've co-written it and created it, along with two other guys that I don't actually know.
It's not Nira Park and Edgar Wright, that's for sure.
Yeah, one of them might be Peter Serafinowicz's brother, maybe.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's not a very common surname, so...
No.
And they know Peter, so I haven't actually looked into that.
I always found that weird, considering how much they quite vocally would make jokes about the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Because he was in it.
Yeah.
And I've literally, genuinely, until this exact moment, never drawn that parallel.
You know what they say about love and war?
Yeah, one involves a lot of physical and psychological pain, and the other one's war.
Did you finish saying what it was?
Where did I get to?
Sorry, I got very.
Oh, so the actual show.
Yeah.
The actual show is
so the point of us being here.
Gus Roberts, you are my #1 installer.
And who better to train up more Gus Robertses than Gus Roberts himself?
The last thing I need is some clueless millennial mouth breather cluttering up my van.
Elton, I really should have asked you to wait outside.
It follows Nick Frost's character and Samson Kao, I think his name is.
Yes.
They are two sort of Wi-Fi installation guys.
Yeah.
Going to various places, installing their Wi-Fi things.
In a van, every time the van is on screen, the music sounds a bit like the A-Team theme.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, I thought it was just a joke at first, but literally every episode, the music goes do, 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 do. But yeah, they work for a company called Smile with a Y.
Smile.
Which was infuriating.
Run by Simon Pegg. He's only
Pegg,
in and out of the series, really, as their boss. But they go to all these different places, installing Wi-Fi, and happen across some sort of paranormal, ghostly things.
Yes.
And Nick Frost also, his character that's like sort of his hobby. Like, it's what he's really interested in. That he likes.
He already has the YouTube channel at the beginning, doesn't he? He has the YouTube channel called Truth Seekers.
Has like the magazines delivered to him, stuff like that, of various spooky goings-ons.
Careful. I've been a paranormal investigator for 20 years. I'll take it from here.
Hello, ghosts!
We should probably mention that his dad is played by Malcolm McDowell, because I keep forgetting that.
He actually provided the biggest laughs for me.
Oh, I loved him. I think he was criminally underused as the series went on.
Hey, did you steal one of my digestives?
No. If you don't mind me saying my thoughts on it, I find it very frustrating as a series because there was a lot in there to like that wasn't quite expanded upon. It was very nerdy and not in a spaced sort of way where it's sort of like sci-fi nerdy sort of way. From the first episode, he's listening to the number station, the Lincolnshire Poacher, which is a real thing.
Yeah.
Which I learned about at university because we went to university in Lincoln, so they decided to tell us about this thing. For those who don't know, a number station is a spy station that broadcasts a tone and then a series of numbers, which is basically a code. Not the numbers that were in the series, incidentally. That was just invented for the series because obviously it was that actor.
Yeah.
but it's called the Lincolnshire Poacher because it has a bar of the folk song Lincolnshire Poacher that goes, but not like that, in an incredibly creepy, synthy 1950s early synth sort of way. And that was really cool because I was like, oh, because it is creepy. If you actually listen to the actual Lincolnshire Poacher, it is a deeply creepy signal that you sort of go,
it's almost like a really disturbing, creepy ice cream van.
That sort of thing. Yeah,
it's
well, like that tornado siren video. I don't know if you've ever seen that. There's a tornado siren broken in Chicago, and it just goes.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
And it just keeps the tone keeps going completely wrong, but it's a completely misty day in Chicago, and everybody's just going, "What the fuck is going on?" But that was the first inkling. I was like, oh, I like that because that's a real nerd thing. Because it was I think it got turned off in like 2005 or something, but it had been going throughout the Cold War. From not from Dorset as suggested in the series, it was going from the RAF base in Cyprus, and before that it came from Bletchley Park, which is where Alan Turing famously did all the code breaking stuff. But that's what I mean. It's like clearly the knowledge involved in that, and then there was more, which I won't go into too much, but there's stuff that is in it where you go, wow, that's really cool. Sort of, not it's the kind of hyper nerd stuff where it's not even a reference to a thing. It's have you ever heard of this? And the way it actually the actual ghost story of what becomes of the number station, I really like. I just don't think it was executed brilliantly. You
say that, I think that was my favourite episode.
I think that was my favourite ending to an episode.
Good in a set-up sort of way, good for laughs, even good for a few spooks. But after that, I sort of trailed off. I finished it because it's quite easy to watch.
About 10 episodes, wasn't it? And it wasn't episodic. The second half, it was sort of leads into this, leads into this, leads into this.
They kind of stumbled towards to try and wrap things up within the series, but then also set things up for the next one if they do the next one.
Bafflingly complex in the last 5 minutes. Which was like, where has this come from? Which I won't say, but Christ.
Something is not right. We need to find out what it is.
I should say the other thing that I find, before I go on spoilers, the other thing I find quite infuriating about it is the same problem. What did we liken it to? Oh, Space Force.
Space Force, which
the quality, the cinematic quality of it, was to its detriment, in my opinion. The fact that it was in a letterbox for some reason,
really jarring.
It didn't really work for me, and also
you're supposed to find like visual comedy, especially coming from Pegg and Frost.
That's it. It's the thing of the Pegg and Frost. The thing about Spaced is it's cinematic, but that's because it's shot in a way that Edgar Wright, you could tell that Edgar Wright was directing Spaced.
Well, yeah.
As in, it was so obvious. Now that you've seen his videos since, the editing, the bish, I'm not going to say bish bash bosh, which he then transposed into a cinematic career, whereas this felt like it was trying to be cinematic and therefore just looked weird.
Like for me, some of the comedy did fall flat.
Yeah.
It was almost trying to want to recapture Spaced.
Yeah.
And at some times it just wasn't really like hitting its mark.
The other thing, I've just realised I need to get this out of the way before we go into spoilers, but the bits where they film for the channel, I hated because it didn't make sense, because it was fine that it'd be really badly shot, because it's like, he's never shot before, makes sense. But it looks like it's being filmed on a camcorder circa 2005.
Well, you said that, and I think I just got to the episode where it was either where they're at the Happy Eater or the insane asylum.
I did laugh at the bit where they were reciting things from Little Chef and things like that.
Yeah,
where it was like the Eggy Bender and the things like, and then they were going, actually no, that's Little Chef. That was a good, like, a back and forth. When the actors were allowed to have a bit of banter between them, it was funny. Like, they were really funny people.
I think it was the insane asylum one, because that's when they were doing the live stream
where they had they
had like GoPros and then they had the camcorder.
But even then, the quality was like not GoPro sort of.
No, they kept like switching. I was trying to follow which camera was filming what, and they were all at different sort of, and then they were putting the old interference and sort of like pixelation on top of like clear, crisp HD video.
If you made this show less cinematic and 5-10 years ago, it'd have been way cooler with the well, basically, you'd be making the Marble Hornet Slenderman films, with the distortion, the handheld, and the Slenderman comes in.
Tagging on to the end of that, I was thinking this morning how it could have been shot in a way to sort of just help the comedy sort of side of it. Then I was trying to think of other supernatural comedies. Well, all I could think of is Round the Twist.
Have you ever felt that's also on Amazon Prime?
That's almost also on Amazon Prime. We are not endorsed by Amazon Prime.
No, we're not. Unlike a United Ireland, we are not endorsed by Amazon Prime.
But most recently, the only thing I can think of was What We Do in the Shadows.
I was thinking about that a lot,
and how that utilizes the mockumentary, fly on the wall sort of style, and that really helps in terms of visual comedy.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe this, if it could have done like almost a Blair Witch parody, I feel like that could have been a more creative way to show.
That's the thing that it sort of showed. It showed an ignorance, weirdly, of like when Pegg was writing the Star Trek film that Pegg wrote, Beyond, understood Star Trek way better than the one before, than Into Darkness. Less so with 2009, but Star Trek Beyond was a Star Trek film. It just was. Yeah. In ways that I won't go into. And it's sort of like, and people, because I remember when it was build up, people were saying, but isn't he more of a Star Wars guy than a Star Trek guy? And like, when I watched it, I was like, oh no, he clearly knows what he's talking about. There's references in here to Voyager, to Enterprise, there's the big green hat, that kind of thing. With this, it doesn't feel like they've watched many, I might be wrong about this, but it doesn't feel like they've watched many shows like this. Like,
no.
It feels like that they've tried to make something completely from scratch. They've done an Elon Musk where they think they've invented something completely new, and actually something it's existed for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every time Musk thinks he's invented the train. What it felt like to me is the only thing they've watched is Ghostbusters and thought, I want to make a modern sort of take on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they even had he has that weird little gadget to detect ghosts, but it didn't really feel like they need that.
And they didn't use a lot of that. There was a lot of stuff in there that is stuff. Because I'm cards on the table. I don't believe in ghosts at all. If you can watch our Educating Ollie Most Haunted to understand my views on ghosts. However, I'm obsessed with ghost hunting shows. On the podcast, I recommend the Parapod so many times.
There's an interest, but maybe it's just.
I just find it on a theatrical level very funny and very
to see where people's minds go to try and understand all of this.
They have like the thermometers, which I now use in my everyday use as a teacher because I have to scan the kids. But the thermometers where you aim the laser thermometers where they change that to surface and they go, there's a cold spot over there. Cold spots usually go before apparitions, and that kind of thing. And then the spirit box, which is the funniest invention in the world, which is just a box that says words that are supposedly from a spirit. That's the thing. Which I think was in Truth Seekers. I think he did have one. It was like going, death, death. And it would have been cooler to see more stuff like that in it. Like if they'd watched the Parapod or... Yeah. Not what the Parapod, or they could have watched that, but if they'd watched like Most Haunted or, what's the guy in America called? The one that Mike's the class is always... Zach Baggins. That, I can't remember what his show's called, but he's just... It's that kind of thing. It felt like it was making jokes about something it didn't really
fully understood. Yeah.
Not that I think they don't understand it, but I would never deign to say that I understand something more than Simon Pegg.
Welcome, Truth Seekers.
What an old ham.
How long is this boring bastard gonna be waffling on?
Dad.
Everyone can hear you,
Spoilers.
What is there to spoil, though? Really?
I just want to talk about.
Unless you want to talk about, was it Astrid, the girl?
Oh, the fact, yeah.
It was clearly a ghost from the get-go.
And then was a ghost.
And then also, wait, so she what happened in the end. He kind of pulled
She
her
died
out
in a fire in the 90s.
or in a hospital.
Wait, was she there by the end? No, she wasn't. She was gone, wasn't she?
She went back. She went into the number machine.
The Lincolnshire poacher machine.
Yeah. And she's like lost in some sort of ghost plane again, but he pulled her out somehow.
Yes.
It almost sounds like I'm going to rewatch it. I might.
It might be worth a rewatch. I mean,
it might be worth a rewatch, but
I just find it, like I said, the cinematography I find so annoying a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time I was like, there's a missed opportunity here. Like you say, to make it like the Blair Witch. I think the bits where they were walking around the houses with the helmets on, I think that should have been entirely point of view.
Yeah.
But good point of view. I think they should have just entirely been from their point of view, and that would have been funny. And then losing the streams and everything like that. Astrid's, I don't even know what was going on there. I can't even keep track of what his plot line was.
Because he's called Elton John, but he's also not. He's called Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie is his original name. I did laugh at that it was like Lionel Richie.
But it was so random. The Elton John thing made me laugh because it just caught me off guard.
Because it's just weird.
You're just scratching the surface. There's a bigger world out there.
No, the fact that, as I said earlier, that the ghosts are all technological, which I felt like it was them.
I thought it was going to factor into their Wi-Fi company, Smile.
Well, it did sort of, didn't it? Because the Wi-Fi was blocking it or wasn't blocking. It was very strange. We'll get to why that's really weird at the end in a minute, because I've got thoughts. But the fact that the soldier became the Lincolnshire poacher because he was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool, because it was. I thought like they were going to go through it, and it would end up that ghosts only exist because of scientific phenomenon. So it'd be like ghosts that exist are impressions left by lightning strikes or things like that, and that would be kind of original. That it's like it's not a spirit world; it's that they're trapped because of like a copy of them or something like that. Like it's that the soldier's brain was in the computer, not the soldier. So he thought, even though they did the thing where they opened the door, but that could have just been in his brain anyway for him to go through to heaven.
Because they've got quite an original sort of way when someone dies and their soul is going into a different.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It's like some sort of technology.
It looked like the old opening when you turned on a PS2. I would say I was happy to see Kevin Eldon. I'm always happy to see Kevin Eldon, who was the proprietor of the hotel in Dorset, where the number station was. It was like, oh, we don't believe any of that here, but we do try and get the tourists in.
Well, I was happy to see Kelly MacDonald. I almost switched off until she turned up as a potential villain for the next series, I guess. I don't really know what's happening there.
Shall we go on to the end? Because I just keep thinking about it. Because Julian Barrett was the bad guy, wasn't he? That's who. Yeah. That guy from Might Be.
Peter Toynbee,
who built a sort of light Stargate while being sort of Darren Brown.
He was injecting nanobots into people's eyes.
He was going to kill all of them to go through the Stargate to go to a new world.
Promising that they would go with him, but obviously that was a lie. Only he could go.
And he'd killed the wife of the guy, of
Nick Frost's wife. Yeah.
So Simon Pegg and lady whose name I can't remember,
Kelly MacDonald,
are aliens.
Yeah, or other worldly beings
have taken human form because they found the play. I can't remember whether they specified what probe it was, but it was the picture from. I don't know if it was the Vitruvian Man. I can't remember, but it was the one from the Pioneer space probe, the plate that says this is what humans look like. Not Voyager, because they're not on the Voyager, because there was an uproar that they put a man with a penis on it. That's genuinely true, by the way. They put a man with a penis on a space probe, and America was not happy at all. But yeah, and so they turn up, and he's trying to give them 8G Wi-Fi, and she's trying to stop. I don't know what was going on.
It felt like a rushed ending to a series. Like they could have just teased it, really. Or
they could have just teased it.
It just felt like too big of an idea to sort of shoehorn in, because Julian Barrett would just turn up every now and then, and there was
and he didn't turn up until episode 4, maybe episode
something
3 or
like
4.
that. Yeah.
Oh,
And
it was.
and right until like the end episode, they didn't really think he was a villain, like the
No,
heroes
until
weren't.
it got, yeah. Oh, I don't know.
There
It was
was no
just,
tension. I would have just been happy it just been like episodic, like them,
yeah,
like almost Scooby Doo, like.
yeah. And the fact that, well, that's again the other nerd thing about it is the fact that they made it look like Bletchley Park where he was working, and that's where the Lincolnshire Poacher was originally. And the sort of, I liked it when it was trying to build up a lore that wasn't batshit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, wasn't aliens.
I
'Cause I'm
think,
fine
yeah.
with aliens, but it was. Oh God! I've just suddenly remembered the dog woman.
Yeah, I expected her to like show up again because she like
She's
possessed by her dead dog, who she finds in the attic.
Yeah.
Her dad, like,
that's where the visualization of the soul thing ruined that for me, because I actually enjoyed, that got really dark where it was like he'd
yeah,
transferred the dog into the. That was like I was going, this is incredibly dark. What is happening here? And then it's like, oh no, weird PlayStation 2 lights are going into her face, and now she's a dog.
Says, and the caster of the incantation, me, should take not more than one sip of tepid urine before the ritual begins.
Anything else to say about Truth Seekers?
well, the whole reason for us doing this is because we're just frustrated.
Yeah,
There's things to enjoy in the show. We're
There's a
just
lot to
frustrated
enjoy.
with not just this, but also like Space Force, and there's probably some
yes,
other
Space
comedies
Force.
at the moment that are being made for streaming services. They feel like a need to make it cinematic when they don't really need
That's
to.
what we were going to, why we decided to do this, wasn't it? Because we said it was like Space Force in that Space Force kept getting close to being good.
And they've got
but
like good
then
talent
wasn't.
behind the cameras as well, in
Yeah.
the writing department and stuff. Like they could pull this
Space-
off. On
Space
paper, it can
Force.
work.
What I said to you about Space Force was the fact, because it's the fact that all the space aspects of it looked really cheap. And I don't mean, because you was like, well, it's a cheap space agency. I was like, oh, no. If it looked cheap like Red Dwarf cheap,
Yeah,
that would work. But it
Yeah.
looks cheap like it's a set that was from the 1960s Star Trek.
yeah.
When the rest of it looks cinematic and it's got like Marines running in formation and things like that. And it's like, oh, now they're in a can that's,
Like that's
Yeah,
not what we go to watch those shows for. We're there for
No.
the comedy, really.
well, we're for the comedy, and it would, it would really help if it didn't take itself so seriously. I think
Yeah.
is the thing as well. It's
Exactly.
a very po-faced attempt at there are things on. We're not being comedy snobs.
No,
Let's say that. There are things on television that are new that we laugh at a lot. There is Taskmaster, which makes us hurt laughing.
like I said, what we do in the shadows is
Yeah, comedy doesn't need. It doesn't need. Look how. I mean, it's getting a bit better, but look how shit it is out there. We don't need the comedy being serious. Let it be
No.
silly.
Just,
The reason why we keep rewatching Peep Show is because it just.
just have fun with it. Be creative.
But it is, like I say, Truth Seekers, they were trying for something, and I admire that about them.
Yeah, I mean, original idea. So
The original idea.
if they
it's an
carry
idea
on,
that
if they
I've
get
long
a second
wanted to do.
series.
Because I've always wanted to do a comedy. I mean, I can't write comedy for the record. I'm saying this as someone who can't make.
Oh,
jokes.
it is tough.
But I always wanted to do one which was entirely filmed as a Most Haunted. So
Right,
it was
yeah.
in universe, them filming Most Haunted, and then like sort of maybe having bits like Roger Rabbit, where it, at the end of the. I don't know if you ever watched the Roger Rabbit shorts, but they'd always have the bit at the end where they're finished filming and they just get about their day.
Yeah, yeah.
That sort of thing. Like you'd have your sort of Derek Acora. That's what this was missing. It was missing a Derek Acora. But doing that, what's that, Sam? What's that? What's that?
Nick-
And they go caught, and he goes, "Oh, I could murder a fag," sort of.
Nick Frost could have really leaned into that
Yeah.
with his character.
Well, I think Simon Pegg would be a great spirit medium. I mean, just give him a Liverpudlian accent and just do Derek Acora. Sorry, say that again, Sam. Mary
He's
loves
busy.
dick. Mary loves dick. Take away. Take away.
Take it away, Johnny.
Take it. No, I was thinking names like take away. Well, then I could go. So Nathan, what was your takeaway? And you go, well, I think it was reaching for the stars, but didn't quite clear the fence. And then just credits.
Should probably just rewatch Spaced.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
I mean, it says a lot that I laughed more at like an episode of Most Haunted than I did the thing that's supposed to be mocking it. Yeah, check it out. Check other things out. Look after yourselves in lockdown 2 Electric Avenue. We should probably say that the reason we also did this is because we recorded a reaction to The Rocketeer last week and it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Rocketeer, mediocre. I enjoyed myself. But yeah, go and enjoy life. We're going to go and I'm going to have my takeaway now.
Bye.
Bye. When she said that's the Eggy Bender, and I was like, oh Christ, I forgot they had a hot dog called the Eggy Bender. Who named that?